Welcome to the Fit Dad Nation podcast, forging strong fathers and raising a stronger generation. It's time to get up or shut up with your host, Steve Roy.
Hey guys, this is Steve Roy, host of the Fit Dad Nation podcast. Welcome to the show. Thanks for listening. Before I introduce today's guest, I want to take a moment to invite all of you dads who are listening right now. If you're ready to start reclaiming your health and your fitness and becoming a better father, better man, and you're looking for a very supportive community of like-minded guys, take a look at our free private Facebook group. You can find that at fitdadnation.com/community. It's called the Fit Dad Basecamp. You can apply there, and certainly love to have you. So today I have a longtime member of our Fit Dad Nation community. You know, he's actually been part of a number of our programs and challenges over the last few years. His name is Jorge Rosa. And Jorge, he's a 36-year-old father of two. He's got a 6-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter. He has a story that's it's so similar to many of ours. So I'll let him get into a story in a minute, but basically started, as a chubby kid who kind of got fit through sports, then entered the real world, and like a lot of us, got fat. Right? It was in his case, it was after high school. He went to culinary school and went from 135 pounds all the way up to 250, and this was the course of just over a year. And since then, being a father, being a busy entrepreneur and business owner, he's fluctuated from fit dad back to fat dad to fit dad to fat dad. And, no offense, bud, but, like many of us, he fights the daily stresses, obligations, lifestyle choices that come up, and struggles with consistency, nutrition, and very relatable. So, Jorge, appreciate you being here, my friend.
Hey, no, I appreciate you reaching out. Really happy to be on.
Yeah, man. So, you've been part of our community for quite a long time. We've been in touch over the years, and you've always been kind of lurking in the shadows. I see you pop up once in a while, then you kind of disappear for a while, and like I said, you've joined a lot of the things that we've had going on, and you haven't probably gotten through most of them until now. So you started a challenge with us on the 1st of this month, and it seems like, you found this spark. And to be honest, you're fucking killing it right now. And I love to see that. It's so inspirational, motivational. It's why I do what I do. And so what I want to know is, why now, what happened? But, before I, get into all that, maybe you could just tell us a little bit about your backstory, about yourself, and then we'll jump into all of that.
Yeah, definitely. So you kind of hit the bases real quick, and that's kind of the story that I went through. So my first challenge against weight to say was when I was in like 4th grade. Just would eat every night a bowl of cereal. You don't think about it, but of course with the kid, as a kid, you just continue to consume. You're not really paying attention to what you're doing. And I remember ballooning up as a kid. My family and I went to a beach trip, and I remember seeing a photo, and that was the first time I've ever felt embarrassed of how I actually looked. And I was a kid that my parents had a pool, so we'd swim every summer and stuff like that. And I remember feeling a bit ashamed of what I looked like. And in the pictures, you can tell, like, I try to keep myself in the water or behind something or something on me. And my parents noticed, and, I give a lot of credit to my parents for noticing what I was feeling. So they signed me up for baseball. I'm not a huge baseball fan. I enjoy watching it every now and then, but I don't think of it as the best sport in the world. But I did it. I did it for 2 years. The first year, it's funny when you see the 2 pictures of it, you can totally see the change from one season to the next. And yeah, I got to, I trimmed down, and within that, my eating habits were better. My mom was better at saying, hey, you know what, you already ate dinner. You don't need a bowl of cereal. How about, a small snack, fruit, or whatever it may be. So that was the first time I noticed where I needed to stay active to be able to stay skinny, right? Like I'm not just a skinny person just because. And then of course, started playing more sports with all the kids, got into junior high, same thing. We were always playing basketball, football, something outside. And then we got into high school. And originally I was going to play football. I missed Hell Week because we went on a vacation and they weren't going to let me play for 4 games. And then I said, forget this. I had friends that played water polo, and they're like, dude, there's no hell week. We're short people. Why don't you get in? And I got in and fell in love with the sport. So got into all this, swimming and water polo. And that's pretty much what I was doing through all of high school. And of course was in crazy shape. Now, I know, I went from 135 to 250 within a year. I also grew about 2 inches out of high school. So I was, I grew a little bit more, so it explains kind of part of it, but not enough to say, an extra 100 pounds.
Right.
So went to culinary school, and that was the first time I met life, to say. I was going to school in the morning, working at a pizza joint, a mom and pop place in the afternoon. So pretty much I was eating some of the best meals in the morning because everything we made, we would have to eat or toss it. And of course, the food was amazing, so I would eat it. And then I'd work at a pizza place all night, and I was eating pasta and pizza and sandwiches pretty much for dinner every night. So, and of course there was no water polo team at the culinary school. So it kind of just happened. And next thing I know, I ballooned up, and you don't really notice when you're wearing a chef's coat how much bigger you're getting. And then at the end of it, I ended up getting up to 250. And it's funny that that's exactly the time I got into photography. And there's not so much photos of me, but everybody else.
Yeah.
So same kind of thing of that kid at the beach trying to hide in the water. I was hiding behind the camera. So there is a few photos that I find of myself, and I just look at it. I'm like, wow, I can't believe I ever got to that point. So, I won't say I put a huge effort into losing weight, but I did something. So I went from the 250 down to like 230, and then went from 230 down to 215. And that's kind of where I stayed for a while. And then right before my wedding with my wife, I tried to do whatever I can. I actually got down to 200, and I felt like that was a huge accomplishment within itself, right? Mm-hmm. Dropping that 50 pounds. Then, me and my wife moved away to, not far, but we were on our own. We were in an apartment out in Pasadena, and they had a gym. So I remember at work, I was just thinking, okay, I need to do something. I'm not feeling good. It's just not working for me. So all I did was get on the treadmill at full tilt, and I would just walk for an hour every morning, every night, 2 a days basically. Mm-hmm. And that's all I did. No weightlifting, nothing else. And 3 months into it, I got down to 175, and I could not believe the change. And it was something simple. It was just walking. It had a TV on there, so I was watching TV and walking. And then we had a competition at work, and I got all into that. And that's when I got down to 169, which was probably the lowest I've ever been able to get when I got back into working out. And I was there for a good 3 years. I was feeling great. I had all this energy, felt good in my skin. Right. And then we ended up getting pregnant with our first son, Arden, who I love my kids to death. There really is nothing else I would want to, being a father was something I've always wanted to do. So when he came, it was great. But of course, with that, there was, we discussed in the past, I think I've even posted it on our in the Fit Dad inner circle. My wife did go through some postpartum depression, and it was one of those things that was hard to watch your significant other go through something so difficult that you can't change anything about, right? Mm-hmm. I'm watching somebody who was completely different from what, her happiness and joy, it's a lot of fake smiles and just kind of being there. So then, of course, within that, we had our second pregnancy. So mm-hmm. My kids are only 15 months apart. My daughter came, and that's where we really did notice it was the postpartum depression that had kicked in with everything on there. So again, we have these two young kids, and I'm watching my wife kind of go through something that, again, there's only so much motivation you can give to somebody that's kind of on their side. And it was killing me. It was killing me. So at that point, my focus 100% was my family. I wanted to make sure that we stayed together, that we pushed through these things together, and didn't give up. So 100% put myself on the back burner, and my wife and my kids are my number one, and they still are 100%. And mm-hmm. It's difficult to get to the point of, understanding that I have to put myself first in some instances. So that's kind of where it led to where we're at now. So when I got down to that 169, I was at like 175 to say when we were pregnant with my son, and that was with not really paying attention to eating. There's cravings and stuff like that, and I kind of partaked in it. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I love a good burger and fries every night.
Every night, yes.
But yeah, so it just steadily crept up, and it got to a point where with work and everything too, we would drop off the kids at 6 a.m, and we wouldn't get them till 6 o'clock at night, and we do that Monday through Friday, and it just wasn't a healthy living style, right? So we're trying to eat whatever we can quickly so we can have as much time with the kids. And so it was a big adjustment, and I can see where a lot of dads and mothers as well go through this. It's one of those, as much as you want to think it's like a puppy, right? Like a kid's puppy, like, oh, you just need to give it food and water. There's a lot more to it. So you start seeing, okay, like 100%, my only focus is to make sure this kid doesn't die. I mean, let's just be honest. Everything goes 100% to whatever we need to do to keep them happy, healthy, and moving forward. So within that, I mean, there was different jobs and stuff that were coming through, and the focus was always trying to make sure work was completed, and then my time to my kids and my wife. So like you said, you have challenges. I jump into challenges. There's one time I had to back out because I think I hurt my ankle during the challenge and stuff like that. And I think what happened was the big aha moment was we went to a amazing bucket list trip this last June to France. We went to France. We watched the Women's World Cup. We saw the women win, and it was amazing. It was one of the most amazing experiences. But I had forgot my laptop charger, and I only had enough battery for one day of work. And then for the rest of the 2 weeks, I was completely disconnected from everything else. Like I couldn't check emails or anything like that. And it kind of reset my whole mindset where I had to make sure I had time to rest. I was honestly sleeping maybe 3 hours a day at the most on a good day, working 2 jobs and trying to make this work. And then when we came back, I just decided, hey, if I push more in one career or one of the jobs, it's probably going to be enough for us to move forward. And lo and behold, it really was. So our company started taking off. Our contract got bigger. So I was able to quit the second job and kind of open up a lot more time for me. So within that, I remember you and I had the conversation of, I understand the benefits of working out. I totally love the benefits of it, but I hate working out. I just it to me, it sounds horrible, but to me, it was a waste of time. There's so much more things I can do outside of this. So you had mentioned to me, like, find something that like gets you into it, right? Like gets you stoked about it. So what I did was actually one thing that I had always wanted to do was boxing. I've always loved, I grew up with, when you had the heavyweight fights and the crazy, biting an ear and stuff that. But those were big things. I'm not a big UFC guy, but definitely boxing, we would not miss a fight. So I was like, I've always wanted to try it. So I found a gym nearby, went in, and I fell in love with it. I honestly do love doing it. And it's no sparring. It's just the conditioning of it. But the first day, the coach kept telling me, hey, take it easy. And I'm like, dude, I'm feeling great. Like, no, I'm fine. I remember 40th minute hit, and I thought I was going to throw up. I was done. Had like the worst cold sweat that I've ever had. And I was like, I can't believe like this is where I am physically. Like it was one of those, like I kept thinking in the back of my mind, muscle memory, I'm going to be fine. I'll be good. And no, it hit, and it just showed me, hey, dude, you're getting older. You're fat. Like you got to do something to change this up. And I think that was the big aha moment. So now, within the work and stuff I do, I definitely have a lot more time with my family. And then at the same time, it gives me a lot of leniency to be able to do stuff midday. So like my boxing is usually 10 in the morning. So my guys know, hey, from 10 to 11, you're not going to get a hold of me. Just leave me a message or text me because I'll be in training. And I love it. I enjoy it. There hasn't been a day that I've gone where I'm like, yeah, I think I'm over it. Like it really was good. So now part of like the challenge that we have for the start of this year, I mean, big things are coming as well. My wife is a consultant for a company that said, hey, when we hit that 5 year, we're going to do this awesome, trip. And we're going to go do a beach trip. And I'm like, well, fuck, I don't want to look all fat. These are people at the work or my wife works with and stuff. And I just, I want to look good. I want her to feel good with the person who's wrapped around her arms. And, so there's that. And then my little sister popped on us that she's going to be getting married. And she wants myself to be part of her court. And I'm like, well, dude, I don't want to look like the fat guy in a tuxedo. I want to look good. So, 2 major events that were coming up, and I started looking at it. I'm like, okay, I got to really think about what I need to do. And, I think part of my big problem when it comes to working out is that I'm looking for that quick loss, right? Like the quick weight loss and the quick, and then I was like, okay, I got to really break it down. And I'm like, okay, goal is about 70 pounds this year that I'm looking to drop. And I think it's like 77 pounds or something like that. And if I break it down, it comes down to, if I lose 2 pounds per week, I'm in good shape for the year to hit the goal I'm looking for at the end of this year. And then when I look at it like that, I'm like, well, 2 pounds isn't hard. Like I've done it before, with just changing my eating habits is enough to help me get that to start off. Right. And then now that I'm doing the boxing and all this other stuff on top of it, I'm like, I'll definitely be able to do it. So I try to maintain just to make sure I'm hitting that 2 pounds a week, and really breaking that down has made me very excited about what I'm doing. So I'm one of those people that likes Suin, which I think a lot of people do. But I think I was setting a lot of those non-realistic goals that were causing me to get frustrated in what I was doing. So, and like I said, I'm part of this group. I'm usually reading everybody's comments. And when I have time, I make stupid comments on there sometimes because I'm a bit of a dick sometimes, and it makes me laugh. I think, you had told us there was somebody who had quit the challenge, like just right in the middle of one of the challenges. And it's like, and I think it was like, oh, because you're a little brash. And I'm like, that's the part I like about it, right? Like, I feel like I can talk to you very easily, and any of the guys on there. I'll say something and whatever, and we all kind of laugh about it and move forward. It's fun. It makes it fun. So I think part of being of a group like yours, and then on top of it, having that aha moment of like, don't go for the quick hit. You gotta do that long-term goals, and then build little short-term milestones that you're really happy, or excited to hit, kept me motivated about it. And that's why it's this big change for 2020.
Yeah, man, that was a lot. So a couple of things you said that I want to touch on. So you didn't go into detail, but this wasn't that long ago, but I know you were literally hustling 18 hours a day. You were working 2 full-time jobs. You had a side hustle, right, which is now your full-time business. So, you were going all out trying to make shit happen, and it's probably a little more extreme than a lot of people go through. But you were just doing your best to keep your head above water. And I totally understand the fact that, there's very little time for, I'm going to plan out my meals and I'm going to find time for the gym. And, in those cases, it's not just like, hey, suck it up and find time. You just literally were working yourself to the bone. And unfortunately, you're in a different situation now. But it's the same for a lot of guys who are really, really busy with their schedules. When I talk to those guys, a lot of times it comes down to, where are your priorities, where are you spending your time? So, I wasn't going to beat you up about that because I saw what you were doing. Unfortunately, a lot of guys, work regular 40-hour weeks, yet, can't seem to find the time, which, to me is crazy because, there's always time when you're working a regular job, in my opinion. And you said that you had a hard time putting yourself first, especially when you're going through what your wife was going through with postpartum. And, that's a big topic too. Do you still feel that way? Because one of the things that, I talk about a lot is it's not selfish to put yourself first. I think it's the opposite. And most men, they want to be martyrs. They want to feel like they're giving 100% to everybody else and leaving nothing for themselves. And I did it for many, many years too. How do you feel that way now that things have kind of cleared up and your wife is feeling better and you're in a different position with your job?
Yeah, I think what it was part of what I was, when I was working those crazy 18 hours, there was always an end goal of trying to make sure I had flexibility in what I was doing. So, of course, the difference is now both my kids are in school, so they have their time that they're away from us no matter which way to do it. And so for me, I don't feel guilty taking an hour to do something for myself, as long as my work is complete, as long as, I'm there in time to pick up the kids from school. Me and my wife love that we can both go to get our kids and stuff like that, right? It's something that we had always wanted to do. And so I feel like part of the shift is more that I feel I have the liberty to do it now, right? So in the past, it was like I didn't feel right if I was going to go pick up my kids, bring them home, and then I'm going to go hit the gym for an hour, and then have my wife take care of the kids, or me. To me that didn't sit right ever. So for me, it was more of, okay, what do I need to do to get to the point where I don't feel that guilt? So for me, the easy was like, oh, okay, well, they're in school right now. I can do whatever I need to do, and as long as I'm there to pick them up after school, we're good, right? So, I'm kind of in that different situation, like you said. My situation is I do have that liberty. So, what I would say is, in the past, when I did have certain jobs where they had a gym, my thing was go hit the gym at lunch, and I'd snack at my desk, just because. At that point, again, I'm not taking away time from my employer. I'm not taking away time from my kids or my wife. It's just extra time I can figure. That's I guess the only way that I ever felt comfortable doing it. And to be honest, probably still the same. If I was working a regular 9 to 5 and then the kids are home, I want to be there with the kids as much as possible. So I don't have a true answer, because I kind of fall in this weird space where I have that flexibility to give myself that time.
Yeah, I mean, you and me both. I mean, working for myself. But yeah, that's a tough conversation, for a lot of guys, because, that's what we do, right? We feel like we get home after a long day and a long commute, and we want to spend time with the kids. And if you're going to take time away to be on your own and going to the gym or whatever, it's, you feel bad about it. It's a tough conversation. Yeah. I mean, it's not just I even when I was doing when I first lost the weight, I would get up at 3 a.m. This is pre-kids, and I really did that because I didn't want to take away time from hanging out with my wife. She was sleeping. I'd get up 3 o'clock, 3:30. I'd be down there until 4:30. By that time, come up, then we start getting ready for work. And it was one of those things that for me, it just worked out. And then she would do her workout at night. So she'd go to the gym. It was a bar method, which she was doing. And then during that hour, then I'd go walk for another hour. And then I never felt guilty of not giving somebody the time that I felt that I wanted to give. So, I think maybe I'll forever be in that guilt if it falls in time that I feel like I can give somebody else. So that's what makes it difficult. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as I said before we started recording, I mean, I felt the same way for many years. I was married. Obviously I'm divorced now, but when I was married, I came home from work. I was teaching boot camps before and after my office job. I worked in finance, and I didn't take care of myself, and I wanted to just be with the kids every second. And I mean, looking back now, I suffered a lot physically. I mean, I was never like overweight, but I always felt crappy. I always had like little energy, and you can't be, the best dad possible if you're dragging ass all the time and all you want to do is sit down. I mean, it's just not conducive to being an active, engaged father. And I've learned that. And so, now we do things differently here. Everything we do is not everything, but a lot of things we do are just active based. My oldest is 14, and she's really taken steps. She's taken things into her own hand just by watching me and my girlfriend. We've been together for 6 years. We've been living together for 5, and we live healthy, active lifestyles. And she's taken off with it on her own. Like, she's doing all this stuff, and I'm like, wow. And I'm not beating her up about it. I'm not talking about her weight. I'm talking about her sizes. It's just she's watching me and watching her, over the course of time, and all of a sudden, bam, it just clicks for her. And It's just awesome to see. So I want to read something that you sent me not too long ago, and it said,
Sure.
Dude, I've been so motivated. I'm feeling better, more energy, never bloated. Sex drive is up. Legit great things. My kids are telling me they miss my big belly. And so when I see stuff like this, right, this is what gets me going when I get these types of messages, because this isn't about the inner circle. It's not about my program. It's not about anything in particular. It's about you finding your groove and really having that wake up moment. And you found your happy place in boxing, which is awesome. And for a lot of guys, and I've seen this time and time again, they'll be part of our groups, even paid groups. They'll pay me. I've had people pay me lots of money. They don't do shit because they're not there mentally. And for you weren't there. You weren't ready for years. And then boom, it clicked. And that's what it comes down to for each guy listening to this. If you're like, I don't know what's going on, you're going to find something that's going to click for you, whether it's an aha moment, maybe something like you had, maybe you fall in love with, a particular sport, or your one of your parents passes away from an obesity-related disease. Whatever it is, you're going to click and you're going to be like, okay, it's time to get my shit together. And no matter how much I try to talk about it, I can never force somebody. And believe me, I've tried with you, harassing you on the messages. Dude, where the fuck are you? What's going on? So anyway, it's a very personal thing, but I just wanted to share your message, because that's what it's about. It's not about, dude, I lost 10 pounds on the scale and, I'm down to this weight. It's, I feel awesome, man. I feel really good. Kids are like, wow, Dad, you look so much better. Where's your belly? It's improved your physical relationship with your wife. These are huge things, and that is what it's all about.
Yeah. It's funny. It's completely the opposite with my kids. They're not saying, hey, you look better. They actually like me with the bigger belly is what they say.
Oh.
But yeah, no, for me, I'll be honest with you. I think part of it too is, which I give a lot of thanks to you, is that you not once let off on me at all. And that was even during the time where, when I signed on with you, we're doing the free stuff, and you would still check in on me and stuff like that. So it's very difficult sometimes with, of course I have my mom and everybody, oh, you're looking kind of big, you should carry, but you don't really pay attention to the people you love sometimes, right? And it's kind of difficult, right? You never want to hear the negative or whatever from them. It causes friction sometimes, but when you hear it from somebody from the outside, it really helps. So for me, definitely one thing was that you'd always check in randomly, hey, what's going on with you? What's happening? Where have you been? What's going on? And that sense of accountability. And that's why I sent you that message when we were talking, was like, well, I got to tell you the truth. This is exactly what I feel. And like, shit, sorry it took so long to get here. But it really has changed a lot. Like I've had a lot of issues where, of course, like I'll eat and then like the bloat hits on the top part of my stomach and it hurts and stuff like that, or even acid reflux would happening a lot more than it used to. And just changing and doing these things has completely switched it. I don't take, I don't know, a lot of your listeners may or may not take a lot of supplements and stuff like that. I really don't believe in doing that stuff. I try to just, as much as I can within, the regular, just working out and eating healthier and stuff like that. So for me, just to see those changes come so quickly within, from the start of the year is really when I started looking at, okay, how am I eating? What am I going to be, what my intake and stuff is like that. In what are we, 3 weeks into it, 4 weeks into it? And already that change switched so quickly where I don't feel that bloat. I haven't felt that bloat since, let's say around Christmas time, maybe. Haven't had any acid reflux. I haven't had, all those things. So for me, I was like, wow, like just that change. And if anybody gets anything from this, I would say, hey, change, to me, the bigger thing was changing slowly. So it would stick. So I feel if I were to go back to the way I was, I'd feel guilty doing it because I took so long to get to the point that I am. But yeah, for me, trust me, sending you that message was probably just as excited as you were to get it, I was to send it.
Yeah. And yeah, I appreciate you, kind of sharing the fact that, I was kind of on you. And I think part of the reason why our groups are successful is because and I talk about this a bit, but one of the things I really dislike about this industry online is it's so easy to hide behind a sales page or an Instagram account or a sales funnel, and you take people's money and they never see your face, they never hear your voice, and I don't like to do business that way. I mean, it's obviously hard to scale up when you're talking to every single person. That's certainly not the case for me, but yeah, it's all about relationships, because had I not been on your ass, and I wasn't trying to sell you anything. I was just touching base every few months or so, and I do this with a lot of guys that I think are good guys. At one point, you're going to get a message and say, you know what, man, Steve's right. It is time. And I actually get quite a few of those and say, hey, this really, resonated with me, and hey, thank you for reaching out. I can't believe you remembered my birthday, or you remembered this, or whatever it is. And those things matter. And again, at the end of the day, this is about a life change for you. I have countless fat guys around me that they're miserable, right? I hate seeing that, right? They're not happy at home. They're not happy with themselves. They're not happy at work, right? You just got to start taking those small steps. And, you're a great example. I mean, you're not only taking your health, but your business. I mean, you've got a great family. I mean, it's a success story in my opinion. And all I want to do is see you continue, which I think, certainly being part of like a group like our inner circle where it's accountability based helps, right? Because a lot of us don't have those buddies. They don't have the tribe. We don't have those guys that are going to call you on your shit. And when you're around, 40, 50, 60 guys that are like that, as the case, yeah, I mean, it makes a difference. And same for me. I don't have those friends either. So it's really important stuff. But anyway, I really wanted to have you on here because of just the change that I've seen in you. And I just love to share this stuff, because I'm not interviewing an former NFL player or a Navy SEAL. You're a regular dude like me, and mostly everybody listening. And, it's not about going crazy or extreme things, taking a bunch of supplements, any of that stuff. It's about finding your groove, getting consistent, getting around the right people, and then just actually committing to it and not wavering.
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I played for the Niners, and I was part of the team that took out Bin Laden. So obviously, I am one of those Marine. No, no. And I think for me, it was finding those like-minded folks, right? So as much as, the people you work with or friends and stuff like that, it is hard to find people that kind of fall in that same group as yourself. But within our group that we have here, there's tons of dads that kind of fall in the same thing, right? We're all kind of in that, like, yeah, I remember when I was skinny and now I want to be skinny again. Like, and it's hard and it hurts and it's not pretty sometimes, and life happens. I know a lot of us have posted things that have come up that hit really hard. I think one of the guys had posted something about a friend or a coworker, and it was just reading that kind of stuff. You remember, we don't get paid to work out. We're not professional athletes or anything like that. And not to say that they don't have their things that turn their world around, but for us, sometimes it hits a lot harder, right? And we have to just, strap up our bootstraps and continue on. We don't have the luxury of being able to step back for a second. Sometimes all of us, we only get that 1 second, and then you got to go back to work, because if not, things fall apart. And finding those people that feel the same way, it's big. I mean, I think I don't know if you remember, but early, when was it? I want to say in September. No, actually, it was right before we were going to go to the trip. So, summertime, we had my wife's aunt who had the heart attack, and we almost lost her. And she, it was one of those scary moments, and that was part of the whole change too, of being able to relax when I was in France. That was like definitely sitting on us. And I remember telling everybody, hey, like, here's the reason why we're all part of this group. Somebody was at work, and luckily she's a nurse, and she was in front of the right doctor that was able to revive her, and she was able to recover. But not all of us have, a doctor readily available, and things like that. And I remember posting it in the group, and I remember getting a lot of heartfelt that didn't feel like just like, hey, sorry, prayers. It was legit like, hey, that kind of opened up my eyes. And yeah, I went through that and this and stuff like that. So, sometimes you have to find those people you can talk outside of your inner circle, because sometimes you're the person who has to be the strong person, and you don't get those moments to maybe feel emotional or break down and stuff like that. So it's really cool to be able to post this and have everybody kind of write back and, hey, I went through it too. How are you feeling? Or checking in a couple weeks later. Hey, how's your aunt doing? And stuff like that. It was really cool. So for me, that's been another eye-opening moment to the whole group. I don't think I had really posted much personal outside of when I first joined, where I, gave my breakdown of like why I'm here. And then I posted that and everybody was back. So it was really cool. That pretty much is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, what I like about it is, the guys are free to share. There's no judgment. The last thing I want in the group is, some knucklehead that's more interested in six-pack abs and flexing. And, there's a lot of that out there. I'm part of a few of those groups, actually, and it's like, I just can't stomach it. But, yeah, just sharing your struggles. These guys were on a no-cheat challenge. I would say the majority of the guys that started this challenge with us 4 weeks ago have started over because they fucked up somehow, but they're honest and they're sharing it because, we care about it, and they're not going to just hide behind, oh, no, I'm doing fine. I'm just, no, they're like, listen, this is what happened. I fucked up because of this reason. I'm starting over this time. I'm going to do this differently. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what I love about it. So let me ask you this. No guy, no father is probably ever going to admit that they're not a good father, right? In their own mind, they're probably thinking, I'm a good dad, regardless of whether or not they are. But how do you feel about like your ability to be like a very, very active, engaged father? I know your kids are little, but like when you're, at your worst, when you're feeling like a fat piece of shit, right? Versus now where everything has changed, not only physically, but mentally, like you're in a different space. Like, what does it feel like to be a parent and a husband in those two different roles for you? What's that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I had a great relationship with my dad growing up. So this is why I always grew up wanting to be a father. So for me, being one was a huge thing. Like I wasn't going to fail at it. There was no way. The difference now is that I feel rested and I have energy to do stuff. Right. So within what I was doing, I was giving my all whenever it was for my kids. It didn't matter what it was or what I was doing, which would leave me depleted of all energy. I just couldn't do it, but I would just get up and keep moving. Now, at least I feel like I can still do all that stuff for my kids and be more active as they're getting older, right? They're going to start doing all the sports and we have to travel here and there. And I want to make sure that I'm doing it, feeling good about it, not feeling like, oh, dude, I'm so tired or I need to take a nap or whatever, right? It's just going. So for me, like you said, my kids are still young, so we're not 100% at that point yet. So it's kind of hard to see that shift. But I mean, man, when they were in diapers and all that, I made sure I was there doing whatever I could. But man, there'd be times I'd be rocking that kid and then I'd be falling asleep. And I'm like, oh, that's dangerous. That's not good. So at least I'm a little bit more, at least rested, I can say. But I mean, I think my wife can attest that for me, my kids have been number one since they've been born. And I just try to make sure I was there for them however I can. I just do feel like I can give them more now, in the sense of me, right? Like I feel better, and I it's just funny though, because my daughter really hates that my belly's going down. Like it's the biggest thing, and it's been one of those jokes because she didn't say fat, she would say flat. She's like, Dad, you're such a flat guy, and it's like, well, now I'm finally getting there. Yeah. I'm really going to be a flat guy is what I tell her. She's like, no, but I like your big belly. And it's like, all right, well, but like I say, for me, I feel like a lot of the dads would fall in the same place where you pull that energy, the last little energy you had to give to your kids 100%. So I don't feel like that ever wavered. It's just now at least I can rest. I can relax a bit and I have that energy to do it. It's not so much a chore. I guess maybe that's the best way to say it. It doesn't feel as much of a chore as it used to, where it was like, I'm so tired, but they need me. And I don't want them to ever look back in their life and think my dad wasn't there for me to do something. So, projects and whatever and toys and,
Yep.
Help them build Lego blocks and stuff. I try to always do that. So now it's more of the funner of it, I guess you can say.
So you mentioned something a little bit earlier that, one of your motivations was a trip coming up, right? Be at the beach, you want to look good. And I ask this question a lot, and it's very hard to get a straight answer, because when I ask a man or a father, what's your motivation? What's your inspiration to be fit? Most of the time they'll say my kids, right? And that's just like the blanket answer because that sounds good, right? But oftentimes in my experience, when I start doing some digging, that's not the motivation. It's not bad that's not your internal motivator. A lot of guys really feel the need to like look good aesthetically because maybe they were dorks in high school or college, whatever it is. There's so many ways to look at it, but I'm curious to hear, other than, and that's important stuff, wanting to look good, in front of your wife and your wife's coworkers. But like, what are the things now that drive you to say, what, I'm not going to have this thing that would cause me to, start over my challenge, or I'm not going to miss this boxing workout. There's got to be something, and I know it's there because I can see it in you. What is it like that's driving you every day to keep pushing and saying, I'm not stopping this time?
Yeah, you're right. There's definitely more motivators than just the stuff you see on the surface. There's definitely like the heart attack that happened was very scary for all of us. And, and then my folks are getting older. My parents are getting older. And, my dad, who was a workhorse his whole life, is starting to fall apart. And seeing that is very difficult. One, I didn't really have much family here. So my parents are originally from El Salvador. I was born here, me and my little sister, and then and my older sister. And when they came over in the 80s, and it was just them. So most of my family lives in El Salvador. I'm not real close to them or anything like that. I didn't really have anybody close. So we never went through, losing grandpa or uncle or whatever and seeing somebody go through this stuff, right? So this is my first go at it to see somebody get older that I truly love and care about. And, to see my dad, he was always our Superman. Like, this dude fell off a roof one time, but my dad was a general contractor, fell off a roof, broke his arm at 8 a.m. And then he got home at 7:30 because it was the last day. Like, he wanted to make sure he finished what he needed to for his client. That's the type of guy I grew up with. So to me, it was like, you give your all no matter what. Who cares if you have a broken arm? You just wrap it up, put some Vicks on it, and you're good, right?
Yep.
I mean, it really was that. So, I'm 36 now. My dad's in his 60s, and to see him start to deteriorate a bit scares me. It scares me to see, like, I'm like, okay, well, if I continue being a workhorse and not really care about myself physically, I'm going to fall apart the same way. And then, I mean, my little girl's in gymnastics, and her gymnastics coach is in her 60s. And this lady looks like she can kick my ass like real quick. I mean, it doesn't take much to kick my ass, but she's fit. She's very flexible. And, she's in there with the kids doing the gymnastics stuff, showing them how to do it. And I'm like, well, that's what I want. Like, I want to look like that at 60, not like my dad at 60, And so those motivators are definitely there. It's not that I want to be like, there's this guy on Instagram, Giovanni something, I don't know. He's like in his 50s, and he's dancing with girls on his boat and stuff like that. And he's like ripped. And it's like, holy crap, I definitely don't think I'll ever get that, not even in my 30s. But in a sense of like, people are living longer. I mean, before it used to be like, especially like I would always make a joke with my wife. Like, I'm like, I'm going to be dead at 40. That's how long Hispanic guys last. But it's one of those things where it's like, no, people are living a lot longer. And, you start looking at like, I don't want to have these issues where I can't walk up steps, or it's super difficult to get in and out of a car and stuff like that. So things like that are probably my bigger things. Like, my eyes have opened up where I'm like, okay, I'm 36. I'm getting older. I get out of bed and my knee hurts a little bit, and I'm like, I didn't do anything for my knee to hurt. So things like that are kind of the things that have started motivating me, where I'm like, well, one, of course, there's the aesthetics. I don't need to be ripped. I just want to look healthy. I want to feel healthy. And it's not even the looks are definitely part of it. I'm not going to say I'm not a little bit of vain. I'm like, I look at photos of when I was skinny. I was like, fuck, I look good with skinny. I'm like, fat doesn't work for me. I tried it out for enough time. I'd rather go with the skinny. But it is all those other factors of seeing it, right? So, I mean, my wife's family, they're getting older too, and I see them getting older and some of the stuff. And my wife's uncle, my wife's Filipino, so a lot of it's one or the other, right? Either you're skinny or you're really big. Mm-hmm. It's never the in between. And one of her uncles had to get knee surgery, and this dude went on like a Monday through Friday super strict diet. Weekends he was a little bit loose, and then back on it Monday through Friday, and he was a good like 3 something. The guy makes me look fat now. Like, he dropped so much weight, mm-hmm. and he looks good, and he doesn't need a cane to walk anymore and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, shit, if he's able to do it, not trying to throw it, but he's older, and he did it in his 50s. He's not doing it where I'm trying to do it now in my 30s. So I'm like, there's this idea of once you hit that 30 plateau that you're done. Like, if you're fat for the rest of your life. And it's like, no, like, you can still do things to change that. And, but yeah, so all these things that I start seeing throughout, it's kind of all meshed together where it's like, okay, now it's time for me to really pay attention and move forward and take care of myself.
Yeah, man. I think about my own mortality too, like you. I mean, I'm looking to my parents, and I tell you, my parents got divorced when I was 6, and they split. My mother took us to New Hampshire on one side of the country. My father stayed in LA, and we only saw him every summer. So we'd fly out for the summer, do all the stuff out there, Disneyland, Magic Mountain, all the Angels games, Dodgers games. Then we'd fly back and live with my mom, my brother, and I. And, her life took one direction and my father's took the other. He spent his whole life exercising, taking care of his body. My mother, on the other hand, single mom, she smoked, she didn't exercise, she worked a lot, and she took care of us, but not care of herself. She died 2 years ago at 70. And she was doing fine up until just one day, or just her lungs from COPD gave out. 70, that's young. Well, look at my father, he's 74 now. He's in the gym 4 hours a day, still, every day, because he's retired. And he's swimming, he's stretching, he's riding the bike, he's doing some light exercise with weights, nothing crazy. But, I mean, that guy's going to outlive me probably. I mean, his mother lived to 99. And it's just, you look at the two different approaches, and it scares the hell out of me thinking, man, I'm almost fit. Like me, I'm almost 50. I'm 48 and a half. So my mother was only 20 more years older than me, and she's dead. Like, that scares the hell out of me. I mean, terrifies me. And so, I think about that, and I'm like, well, I could be like my father. I could be training, exercising, and feeling great, well into my 70s and beyond. I mean, and for guys like us, 30s and 40s, you have to think it's not that far off. I mean, it's really not. And it's going to go by quickly. And it's scary when you hear about these guys that are, in their 30s and 40s that are dying from preventable issues that are related to their poor choices. I mean, obviously some of it you can't control, but I mean, people are dying in record numbers because of obesity-related problems. It's all within their, control, 99% of it. So it's scary, man. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think it's one of those things too, is the culture that looms around of this whole, like, love your body no matter what. But it's one of those things where you gotta pay attention. I mean, it's easy to say, hey, you know what, I'm just going to be a fat fuck and just whatever, like, enjoy life and do whatever I need to do. But at the same time, it's one of those things of, it's clinically proven. And I mean, and I can attest to just changing your eating habits, how much it changes the way your body feels and the things that you're putting into it. Right. So, I mean, we tend not to think about it, but it's like, yeah, if you take care of what's going in, what comes out is a lot better. Like, it's just what it is. And, sleeping better, not having these small issues of like the acid reflux or bloating and things like that. Those are like huge things, because when they go away, you're like, oh yeah, no, this feels good. Like, and it's like, and this whole time, all I needed to do was eat this way versus that way. And I mean, I'm still enjoying the food I eat. It's not like I'm depriving myself of flavor or anything else like that. So it's one of those things. And I think it's kind of hard for people to understand, because they contribute a diet in the sense of like, oh, you have to cut everything out. And it's like, no, your diet's your diet. Like the idea you have to think about is, what you're going to start doing to eat. Like I had a buddy that used to always do those bouillon things, like where it's like a water and bouillon for like 2 weeks, and then this, and do a cabbage soup that is given to folks that are way overweight that need to drop weight for surgery. And I'm like, that's not okay. Like that's not how it works. But but we think the word diet means that, and it's like, no, your diet means the food that you're intaking. So doing it, you don't have to do a crazy change, and that's kind of how where I was, where it took me so long to get to the point where we're at now, slowly doing things that made sense to get me to a point where I feel comfortable. Okay, I can do this for the next month and a half, and I'll be okay with it and stuff like that. So but that's just kind of where I'm looking at it, where it's like those kind of things, those little changes can change your life completely, take you off of medication, or, change just the way you feel in general. And it doesn't mean you have to be skinny, but just enough of I'm not bloated every day makes it look like I don't have a stomach anymore. It's like, good things.
Yeah. It's interesting you said that, because last year for me was kind of up and down. It's pretty easy, at least far easier for me to stay fit than a lot of people, because I've been training consistently for 25 years. But, I kind of abused it a little bit and let my diet slide a bit. So, when you eat well most of the time, if you're consistent with it, you can get away with eating things you love. And I kind of took that too far this past year. I developed a really bad energy drink habit. I was drinking a couple Monster Zeros, Red Bulls, like just a lot of crappy stuff like that that's full of chemicals and other shit. And then, I would gorge myself more frequently than I probably should have, and I'd eat late at night, which, like you mentioned, I would seriously have reflux every night, and I'd feel bloated. Like my stomach would be bloated out, and I'd be like, holy, what the fuck? I'm like, holy shit. I'd be looking down while I'm taking a piss, and I'm like, look at my stomach. I'm like, holy God. So with this challenge, on the first, I decided, to take part in it too. I don't do all the challenges with the group. So I did this one, and I'm not kidding. In the last 27 days, I haven't cheated once. I've been eating a primal diet. So I've cut out all the stuff that made me bloat, all the heavy carbs and the pastas and the grains and all the shit that I was eating. No energy drinks, no soda anymore. I used to drink a lot of soda. And not only have I lost, probably about 12 pounds so far. I'm not a big guy. I'm down to like 182 or something like that, maybe less. But yeah, the bloating is gone, and I just feel like when I used to lay in bed reading, I would feel kind of lousy. You're like, ugh. But now that's gone, and it's only 4 weeks, and that's what I'm saying is for anybody, I don't care who it is, where you're at, you start where you're at, and you just work from there. And just by cutting out a few things that are fucking you up, you're going to feel, and that's where it starts. You're going to feel awesome. You don't have to lose a whole bunch of weight right away. Once you start feeling better, and then you maybe start noticing a little bit in the mirror, then you're like, damn, this is working, and I feel good about it. And then it snowballs. And I think that's the key to success right there.
Oh yeah, definitely. I totally agree on that. There's no way around it. I mean, like you said, even just laying in bed, you can get comfortable. You can get a good night's sleep versus tossing and turning because your stomach hurts or because you're choking on that acid coming up. It's those little things that make you feel so much better. And I mean, like you said, I mean, you're a fit guy. I mean, I've seen your photos. I've seen what you look like and stuff like that. And to me, I'm like, yeah. And you still, just from changing your eating habits, have been able to see a difference. It's awesome. So what's funny is for us guys that are a bit bigger, those changes are even more drastic when you actually stick to it and are true about it. So yeah, no, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, man. I want to ask you one more thing, and this is something that I like to talk about because a lot of people define success as weight, which I think generally is a poor indicator of progress. I mean, it's good to see the scale going in the right direction. Unless you're looking at body fat, you don't really know where that weight's coming from. But I don't like to use the scale. I prefer actually to look at non-scale victories. And so I want to hear, like, what are some that you have noticed, you're stronger, or you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, wow, I look better, or your clothes fit better, your belt's smaller, you're getting more compliments, your wife is more attracted to you, energy, confidence, all those things. Like, what have you noticed, not on the scale, but otherwise, what do you consider to be like these wins for yourself there?
You know what? I think one of the biggest wins is the motivation to keep going. Just the feel of like, hey, I'm doing something good. Like it's almost not even an issue anymore, right? It's like I'm just doing it. And then when I look back, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm eating better. I'm drinking tons of water. I'm not consuming so much sugary drinks and things like that, right? I mean, that alone was enough for me to be like, oh shoot, like that was pretty quick. That change was pretty quick to see it happen, right? And you don't even notice the time fly, especially as dads. I think we all fall into that. Our kids are kind of like time machines, right? Like I couldn't believe that we're already in 2020. So that was a really quick change. I mean, of course, like I joke about my daughter just saying like, I liked you better with the bigger belly. I mean, kids are relentless and they don't give a care about what they're going to tell you. Like they are 100% truth. And to hear that from them was awesome. Even my son was telling me. And then, they know that my boxings are Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, which is the same days that they do PE. So they get really excited. They're like, oh, Dad, you have your boxing today, right? How'd it go? And stuff like that. And they, to see that they're excited to hear that I continue doing it, that's awesome too. So all those little things right there, of course, definitely just the overall feeling, just my body, the way my body feels, less angry. I mean, it's funny, like you don't really notice those kind of things until you, till it happens. Right. So I feel like I'm a little bit more patient. I don't feel like crap. Work wise, I mean, that's the other thing too, is like, I've learned to step away from stuff. There's days that I'm like, I should really get on the computer, but honestly, I'd much rather relax and let my body recover from the day. And that might not seem like a big win to many, but when you are used to working those 18 hours and are relentless on that, that's a huge thing. When you understand that you also need that rest and recovery and sleep. So, I'm getting a good 7 hours, 8 hours of sleep now a night. And I felt like I didn't get those comfortably either before because the bloat and the acid reflux and the pains and stuff like that. So sure. Just overall, just the feeling of what I'm getting has been awesome. That's probably the biggest win. And the same thing, like you're saying, the numbers on a scale don't matter. That's why I'm like, hey, if I'm dropping 2 pounds a week, I'm hitting a goal, right? And before it used to be, well, I want to hit 5 to 6 pounds a week, and if not 10 pounds a week at minimum. And those things don't matter to me anymore. Now it's just like, if I just keep doing what I'm doing, I'll see the benefits, right? It's like, even like with business, like if you run only towards the money, it's only going to get you so far. If you truly love what you do, the money is the reward. It's what comes behind it. It's almost the same thing right now. This energy and the overall feeling is the benefits of me just doing the correct things daily for my body.
Yeah, man. And man, I just love seeing your progress. So, keep it up. And I appreciate your time here. I really think a lot of guys are going to be able to relate to this. Sometimes when you bring on some kind of celebrity or a Navy SEAL, like I said, or somebody like that, it can be harder to relate to. But, I think that's what this community is about. It's more so about regular dads like you and I, and just getting after it and becoming better fathers, better husbands, better men. And so, yeah, man. So I appreciate this. Like I said, I'm proud of you, and keep it up. That's all I can say, man. Just keep after it.
Awesome. Hey, no, thank you. I do attribute a lot to it, to you and the group. So guys, if you guys are part of the group, feel free to hit me up. I'm more than happy to talk a little bit more if there's anything that sparked your interest or you want to hear what I've been doing that worked at any time. And then Steve, you can hit me up at any time and talk crap if you want. I'm okay with that.
You got it, and I will.
I know. It's like clockwork.
All right, my man. Thanks again. We'll talk soon, okay?
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you again.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, if you want more information, check out the Fit Dad Basecamp group on Facebook. And don't forget to stop by fitdadnation.com. Until next time, keep kicking ass and taking the next step. You can do this, Dad.